collaboration, even if this was a way to get more done,
And Roy, in fact, loved to read to me from the Ray Ginger joke book on American history, 1974. The only such a joke book ever written. If only to confirm that historians shouldn't do stand-up. I mean, if you think about it, what would happen if before every lecture in the survey, and I know you're all deeply in the survey, you said to your students, "Stop me if you freeze." Never get past Jamestown. So if historians don't and shouldn't do stand-up, or at least they don't deliberately do stand-up, what might Roy the humorist mean? Now, had I been asked that question, or had I asked Roy that question, you would be sure he would have already Googled the answer before I was finished. This morning I looked it up on Wikipedia, and we know his feelings about Wikipedia. Quote, "A humorist is a person who writes or performs humorous material. The material written and or performed by humorists tends to be more subtle and cerebral than the material created by stand-up comedians and comedy writers. The intention is often to provoke wry smiles and amusement rather than outright belly. Wry smiles and amusement rather than belly laughs. And truth be told, when I think back to that Orwellian year, 1984, when Roy and I began to write the regular Get Back in the Book column, rather than literary review, we were willing to settle for wry smiles. In fact, we set the bar so low, or so high, that we weren't even promising any kinds of smiles. At first, I went back to look at the headnote that ran over the first column, and it reads this way. With this issue, the RHR inaugurates a column of notes and comment on recent news stories that have a direct bearing on the work of historians and the character of popular memory. The items will range from the ephemeral to the immediately threatening. And we hope that readers will flip and send us contributions of their own." So, firstly, no hint, no intimation that this was going to be a humorous column. That is eventually what it did become. I hope it did become over the next 2 decades of its life. Or at least that's why I assumed that I would have to talk about Roy the humorist. 3 times a year, Roy and I would get out the clipping files, later the computer files, and then schmooze about the possibilities that we had in hand. It's a chore to take our time out from other obligations. It's really Roy's obligations. But it was also an illicit pleasure. I mean, really, the chance to riff in print on history and historians and the abuses by both. What was not to like about that? And as the original headnote suggested, we were able to range from the immediately threatening, which in 1984, as some of you remember, meant a systematic effort of the Reaganauts to win the cultural wars, defund the left, and to, of course, rewrite history from Pittsburgh. All the way over to the ephemeral side of the scale, like, for example, the decision of the French synchronized swimming team to choreograph an Olympic commemoration of the Holocaust. That wasn't enough, really. I think Roy's sense of history and Roy's sense of humor revolved around the often surreal contradictions implied in that phrase, "You can't make this stuff up." The contradiction being in 1984, as in our own moment, that they were in fact making this stuff up, and they were doing it in plain daylight, whether at Pittsburgh or at the Olympics or wherever. So as you might imagine, Roy and I, or R.J. Lambros, as we call ourselves, we never ran out of material in the 20-plus years that we wrote the column. So none of our readers, aside from our comrades John Wiener and Shane White, ever responded to our calls